Top of it, everybody. I want to welcome you to Managing Our Minds podcast, where we're here to create a safe space for you to tell your stories because vulnerability is not a weakness, but it's a step towards growth in every area of life. And I'm Dominique Easley.
And I'm Damien, Jacobson. Today we have a special guest. A little bit of love, hate in the room. Fellow SEC opponent, and just a guy who's may not be the biggest, but accomplished a lot of things in bigger ways. Mr. Zac Stacey, we'd like to welcome you here today, brother.
Of course, gentlemen, appreciate y'all having me on. I'm glad you referenced the love hate because as I alluded to our boys at the beginning, it's not too fun to me to be around some gators. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, you surrounded right now, big fella.
I definitely appreciate y'all boys allowing me to hop on the platform though for sure.
Nah, of course, man. Appreciate you for definitely coming on. So here at Managing Our Minds podcast, man, we like to ask one specific question, and this question is greatly overlooked. How was your day? People ask this question and just move on or just answer with a good, am I, or somebody's not really there to receive it. So that's why we're here. We're asking you this, and we really want to know, how was your day, man?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And thanks for highlighting that because that's not to sound cliche. That is a question that a lot of people don't ask. There's a lot of people don't ask me from time to time. But at the end of the day, my day was good, man. I'm blessed. Some people don't get to wake up in the morning. My last couple of weeks have kind of been hectic a little bit due to Father's Day schedule, which was great. My son's birthday was
Happy Father's Day. I apologize. Happy Father's Day, big fella. Happy Father's Day.
Likewise, and his birthday was pretty much the week before Father's Day, so it was like a combination of celebrating him and celebrating myself. But I actually pick him up tomorrow, So, but my day was good, man. Just been busy. I'm actually doing a weightlifting competition in Daytona tomorrow.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I'm right here in Orlando, and but the competition is so dope because I'm actually doing it like a 3-team type of thing. One of my partners have Down syndrome because I have ties with Down syndrome with my little brother having Down syndrome. So I even worked in years past with the NDSS, the National Down Syndrome Society. So part of what I'm doing now is as far as just getting out into the community and what I'm saying, showing face a little bit. But my day was good though, bro.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for sharing that. And one, I didn't know that about you, and that's one, I got to give you your flowers for that, man.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that, doing that work in that community. You've experienced the highs of being an NFL running back, man. The very public lows of personal struggle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How do those extremes impact your sense of identity, and how are you working today to rebuild that?
Yeah, man. It's as far as my career, football wise, specifically the NFL, man. Even though I was talking to my boy about this the other day. Even though it was short lived, I only got 4 credited seasons or whatnot. But I feel like I actually went through every single high and every single low as a player. Whether that coming in as a rookie and starting. Being one of the faces of the franchise. I've been on the back end of stuff like getting traded, been in the news, being traded when they drafted Todd. Going through the politics.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I actually, I kind of, within those 4 years, I feel like God said, look, we're just going to give you 4 years. We're going to let you experience everything that you could as a player, and then we're going to get you out. You know what I'm saying? But that also as much as it is a uncomfortable conversation, there were some perks with the NFL, but there wasn't some perks that I wish I didn't have. And it kind of relates to the question. It kind of relates to the question you asked as far as that identity piece. You know what I'm saying? For me personally, I really don't want to go through life just as Zac Stacey, football player. You know what I'm saying? That kind of bothers me a little bit sometimes. Because I've always kind of wanted to make sure that obviously football has always been the main thing as far as my past career, but I didn't want to make that my identity. So it's hard not to.
A lot of us struggle with that, bro.
For sure.
Trying to get away from that identity.
And it's hard not to because think about it, you guys played at one of the blue bloods of college football. You know what I'm saying? So of course, just for that is just playing at Florida, playing at Bama. I'd say Bama because I actually grew up in Tuscaloosa. So With that being, but what's crazy, I was an Auburn fan growing up, so I know unorthodox Auburn fan living in Tuscaloosa, but nonetheless, you know, with that being said, that comes with a lot of pressure. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You guys are already, you know, coming in as 4-star, 5-star, because that's pretty much that Florida was brewing, you know, back when we was playing. But I just kind of relate that to, you know, for me personally, I can't speak for a lot of other guys. Football was all that I knew, and that was very unfortunate, you know, as it pertains to, you know, what that looks like and what that reality looks like after the ball is taken from you. You know what I'm saying? So
right. But Zach, I look at I look at your history and the whole thing. It is with your stats in high school. Like, I mean, there's no reason that and you had what, like 2 offers. Like, I
two
mean,
offers. I had one from
there was no reason that you shouldn't have been. I mean, runner up for Mr. Alabama. I'm looking at your stats from like, man, it's crazy that like nobody else.
It was, you know,
So you was kind of built for this. You was kind of built for. You was built that long ago for this kind of path, if you ask me.
yeah, for sure, bro. And it's, you mentioned that, and it's like, because, you know, the community that I grew up in, bro, nobody, you know, it was a very, very small town, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, when it comes to recruiting, you know what I'm saying, as it relates to that, you know, Nick Saban was only looking at Mobile and Birmingham. That's all, in Montgomery.
Wow.
That's all he got his players from Bama. But, you know, the guy that kind of put me on was actually Ben Jones. You know, Ben Jones was a Lone Star. He played at Georgia. You guys should know him. Y'all played on deep.
Yeah.
Dan Jones, we played at the same high school. He went to Georgia. Obviously, he got drafted by, you know, the Texans and was a long time center for the Titans. So, but he was the one that kind of put me on. But, you know, being that kind of, you know, having that underdog mentality and having to overcome, you know, so I was already used to that. That was from high school, college, even to the pros, you know what I'm saying? And I was, you know, things after that as well. So it all comes down to, bro, you know, making sure that we have the awareness. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's you know.
And shout out to the small town guys,
sure,
bro, because
for sure.
you
Of course.
He's ain't used to this. He's from big city. Shout out to the small town, because you describing my situation right now, bro. Like, Trevon Reed put me on from Auburn. Trevon Reed helped me in a lot of ways of getting recruited.
You know the irony of that statement, bro? Think about New York and football. I'm more of an outsider than y'all are outsiders when it comes to football. You get what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm and that's what, like, hearing you say this about like the situation that you was in, and even just other people, I'm just like, that blowing my mind, because me being in New York, I used to always think all of y'all getting paid.
You got to think
all of y'all getting moved out again. I'm just hearing stories, so I'm thinking like, yeah, this is really like Friday Night Lights. This is really like longest y'all. Like, this is not longest y'all, but Blindside. So I'm really thinking it's like this.
What you know? It's close to longest yard because it's just his country. You know what I'm saying? So
right. but Zach, you could attest to this. You know, one of the things that made it seem like that was that viral show, Two-A-Days from Hoover High School.
At the Hoover,
it made it look like something that was totally different.
Hoover was literally about 35 miles, 35 minutes from my community I grew up in. So yeah, that was a big thing. But my point is, you guys think about it. Y'all boys got Tampa. I mean, obviously the Bucks, Jaguars, and obviously the Dolphins. We don't have a pro team in Bama. Our pro team is Alabama, Auburn. You know what I'm saying? And, you know.
Or y'all gravitate to the Saints?
Yeah, my mom's a Saint fan. She loves Drew Brees. So, you know, it's either the Saints or, you know, the Falcons or whatnot. But most specifically, like fan-wise, how serious it is basically the SEC, bro. That, like, football in the South is different. And that kind of goes into the identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, where I'm from, bro, like, just that's all we did. You know what I'm saying? There's no awareness about mental health, or, you know what I'm saying, or having dialogue or anything about that. Where I'm from it was all about sports, bro. We didn't my family don't know nothing from the lower suburb to Roll Tide. That's the only thing they know. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
How serious it is down there, and how serious it is for, you know, guys to succeed, especially coming from a small community like me. Like, Ben was known as White Jesus in my community. I was known as Black G.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So I took tremendous pride in that, representing my community, bro. Not just in college, but definitely in the league too.
Yeah, man, that's a lot of pressure on your back, man.
Okay,
That's
sure.
especially like everything that was going on with your brother, and even like after walking away from football to care for your brother, you being able to make that decision to teach, to love, to take care of mental health, and sacrifice yourself. That's like, how did you come to that decision to do something like that? Because, like you said, growing up where you grown up, to get to the NFL, that is what you needed to do to become the hometown hero.
Of course.
And you decide to give that up for something I think is way bigger.
Way bigger than football.
For sure, bro. And the crazy thing about that, I didn't necessarily walk away, I limped away. So I actually had to retire, bro. At the same time, you know, having that ability and having that opportunity to obviously take care of my butt. So it's all God, bro. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the doctor told me after my last football game ever was Thursday night game against the Bills. My career ended 2 seconds before halftime, bro. Broken leg and ankle.
God.
You know what I'm saying?
You say you broke your ankle?
Broken leg and ankle. So the doctors told me basically after, like I say about 2 surgeries, look, if you don't get this quality of life surgery, you're going to be walking with a cane at 32. I'm 34 now, bro. So, and this was back in 2017. So that's ultimately why I had to walk away. Just cause, a lot of things just wasn't in alignment, as far as like my career, prolonging. Cause, I'm already beat up from playing y'all, twice, 4 times a
Yo, I
year.
tell everybody, bro, I tell everybody that, like, if I could do it, me personally, if I can do it all over again, I will go to Rutgers. I say the hell with beating up my body, because I feel like we was in the league for about 2-3 years
like, bro,
already.
the biggest asset we had as players was playing in the minor leagues of the NFL. I mean, you're not going to get any more like NFL type of bodies in any other conference. And I'm just talking specifically when we were playing, bro.
And it was every day.
It was Kentucky. It didn't matter who it was. It was Kentucky. It was Georgia.
Practice,
yeah, bro.
Tennessee. It was
some of these cats on the scout team, like, bro, chill, bro. Like, come on, bro. I gotta play Saturday, bro. Like,
but not. It was crazy, bro. But ultimately, it always got to come down to one thing, bro, and it got to come down to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like making a decision like that, because I could have, continued to try to pursue, but I've seen a lot of guys, particularly in recent years past, that they chase it so much, bro, and it's kind of leads back to how it ties into mental health, is because to think about the 2 things that we needed to have success that may be toxic outside of football. We needed validation, you know what I'm saying? We kind of needed the ego, you know what I'm saying? And with that off the field, you know what I'm saying, that's what I was kind of like searching for, you know what I'm saying? Because I was so used to the spotlight. I was so used to, getting the pats on my back, and that allowed people to get in my circle that shouldn't have been in. Goes back to awareness, right? You know what I'm saying? Goes back to that discernment. So that's how, that's why the identity that was peeled from me from the NFL after I retired, because I'm not sure if you guys, experienced this. Once that ball was taken away, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people dipped,
it changed,
switched
the
up.
love ain't the same.
And because I was still trying to chase that high in such an unhealthy way, well, as it relates to the validation and, the ego, the identity crisis that we all went through, you know what I'm saying? That's where like the turmoil kind of began as it relates to
It was toxic.
The navigation of my mental health and where that started. So I'm not about to sit here and say NFL was the reason that I started having these issues. They're part of it, of course. But a lot of this was already there. You know what I'm saying? I just had to have the awareness to find it, bro. And I didn't know how to do that because I was too busy trying to please coaches, too busy trying to please.
You was at the
You know
biggest stage. Like, y'all Bama back then, bro, you went from Bama straight to the league, but your Bama was the league. Like, y'all was being compared to play teams in the league at that point in time.
No,
So
he played at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I played at Vandy, bro. Yeah, I played at Vandy. You
Played at
probably know that,
Vandy.
dog.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, Vandy, my bad.
Yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
edit
my bad, my
that.
bad.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm looking.
Bro, I wish I
My
played at
bad, my
them. I just
bad.
grew up.
He from
Yeah, my
them.
bad.
I could have had.
I was looking at Trent. I'm sitting there looking at damn near Trent.
Yeah,
you good.
yeah. I would have won the
Yeah,
Heisman Trophy if I went to Bama.
But
Wish.
yeah, for a fact. But to get back in it, Zach, you made an interesting point, Brent. I think a lot of people forget about that injury. Is overshadowed, and maybe part of like the video that circulated in 2021 that was hard for everybody, including you, to watch.
Yeah.
What made you learn from that? What made you heal from that? And at least you peering back in the public eye, so you've healed as a man, and we would like to get your perspective on and how you.
I feel like, bro,
clean,
of course. I mean, the biggest thing is, bro, and of course the video was, hard to watch. I only watched it twice, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's when it first, got aired out, publicized or whatnot. And obviously it was at my sentencing or whatnot. So of course it was hard to watch, bro. And it was hard to watch because both times I watched them, it was kind of confusing because I really don't remember, bro. I literally blacked out. And that's kind of the fortunate thing about it. Like, I don't remember exactly what happened because it was quite an experience, bro. It's like an out-of-body experience. But understand one thing, like, that video, as bad as it was, bro, as bad as the optics was around it, it had absolutely nothing to do with the murder of my child, bro. I wasn't equipped, or nor did I have the skill sets mentally and emotionally to handle the toxic situation that I was in with it. Because nobody was perfect, you know what I'm saying, on both sides. By no means have I ever said I was, no intentions of saying I was perfect. Obviously, I'm not. But the bottom line was, bro, I had a mental breakdown. It got publicized, and I got criminalized for it. And having said all that, of course, there's a lot of, things we can contextualize as far as like the losses that I took, whether it was, relationship, business, or personal. I lost communities. I lost, financially, like the losses were endless, but I didn't lose fatherhood from that situation. And having said all that, that's why I'm saying, as bad as the video was, bro, so much was gained from the situation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like the growth, the evolution of everything from that, like to put me in the space where I'm in now, bro, it's nothing but God, and it's just because I put the work in to get to this point. Because, the first thing as it relates is obviously the accountability piece. I stood in front of everything, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's what I was going to tell you, man. That's one thing that I definitely did see during that whole time. You took accountability at all times. And a lot of cats tend to try to hide behind walls in that sense. You know what I mean?
Dominique, think about it. And Damien, you too. There's no secret handbook or manual to kind of get through this situation or heal from this situation. You know what I'm saying? So there was no hiding. There was no, I couldn't. The video was all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no hiding from this. So I had to stand.
But I got a question for you though. Like, because obviously in those situations, people looking at what happened. When I seen you, I understood something. This did not happen right then and there. This was something that was happening, and nobody took notice. Nobody helped them. Nobody reached out. Like, what did you try to communicate with people? Did you know that you was going through something at that moment to lead? Not that at that moment, but in that time period of your life to lead up to that?
And it kind of goes back to what I said, bro. It's just I lacked a lot of skill sets. You know what I'm saying? I was, I'm literally down here in Orlando for the main intention. That's my son, bro. I have no family here. It's literally just me. So I didn't really have anybody to like go chill, any place I can just go, be safe other than like my, the place I was living at the time. but it's just lacking the
And that
skill.
wasn't a safe space.
Yeah, and you know, I had my therapist who I was working with at the time, but when it comes to the mental health and the emotional wellness that you have to be successful at it, bro, you know, that's
You need a community.
just because you go to therapy, it's not like a one-time thing, you know what I'm saying? Because it's
Mhm.
really all about the application, you know what I'm saying? You got to apply these tools and the resources that you learn, you know what I'm saying, and into the real world. And
Yeah.
but
I'm
Zach,
glad that
what
you said.
point, Zach, what point did you realize, like, even after this whole thing went down, like, that you need to try to get to this place that you at now? Like, when you took accountability to say, I'm gonna go get some help, I'm gonna speak to somebody, or at least try to do what I can on my behalf to be a better
it
man.
was my son, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, despite my situation, I that didn't stop fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's really he's my son has really been my balance, bro. Because you know this is very much still a transitional period for me. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, like next month, that's me literally 2 years removed, you know, for being released from jail. You know, not only jail, solitary confinement. You know, that's 5.5 months and 23 hours a day in the cell. You know, so this is very much a transitional period for me. And you know, the last 2 years, 40% of that I was on probation. But having said that, you know, I think what's always going to be important, bro, is just making sure that, you know, when it comes to the lessons of life, and of course there's plenty of lessons that came from my situation, but ultimately it starts with you. It starts with a choice. You know what I'm saying?
That's a
Because when
fact.
you think about it, because everything is, you know, almost everything is hindsight 2020. Think about how many people don't get the, you know, and let's just keep it a buck. I'm talking about people like us. You know, how many of us, specifically the Black community, have opportunities to really just sit down and tackle their mental health, emotional wellness?
That's a fact.
I know my mom dudes had, you know, worked 2 jobs, you know what I'm saying? She didn't have time to, you know, do therapy. She had to provide for us. And I'm just speaking from my experience. I'm not speaking for everybody else.
No, same.
Yeah,
Mine
you know
was
what I'm
3.
saying? You guys know what it is, but at the end of the day, it's like
Mhm.
a lot of people don't have the opportunity. And that situation that happened
Right.
in 2020 gave me an opportunity to kind of, like, you know, you heard the term standing too close to the elephant. Bro, I literally had to take a big ass step back to kind of see the whole picture. You know what I'm saying? So, because the situation itself obviously highlighted a lot of stuff that I needed to work on. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it just
So,
starts with my awareness.
a lot of people, bro, in your situation would highlight so much negativity and have right. Life is is all about perception,
Mhm.
and the way you was able to perceive the situation that you was in is, bro. One, I got to give you your flowers. Like you talk about your son, you talk about your fatherhood. Well, you just created a generation that was not there before. Like you started something, and you able to give your son this as well. So one, hats off to you,
For
bro,
sure.
for real, because that's a lot of cats would have broke. A lot of cats would have just
Yeah.
quit. A lot of
And
cats would have had a
yeah,
bad, a negative outlook on life after this. You
right.
sitting here still to this day, bro, and fully understanding what put you in that situation and what you got out of it.
For
A
sure.
lot of people just in it, you know what I mean, and not realizing what they can take out of something that looks so dark. And
Yes.
people say this is so cliche, but before that sun come out, there's always gonna be a storm. And what does that storm look like? You just gotta be able just to understand, like I'm gonna be dry at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be dry at some point.
Bro, I was on bond release for like a year and a half. So understand, like, being in that space of like you don't know what the outcome of your life gonna be. You don't know what's gonna happen. You're not able to see your son. I look back at this situation, bro, and I sometimes I kind of look back because that's where it's at. It's behind me. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't got no choice but to look back. You know, figuratively. But at the end of the day, it's like I look back and like, damn, that was a lot to tackle. And just like you mentioned, Don, some people might not have handled it the same. And of course, for me, some days were a little more tougher than others, you know what I'm saying? Because of course, you know, the suicidal ideation popped up. There was no
Yeah.
reason for me
Exactly.
to be here. You know what I'm saying? Think about this, bro. You know, the the video is never going away. I can't sit here and sit down and you know, have my son sit beside me so he can watch my highlights. The first thing that's gonna show up is there's a reality that I had to accept, bro, that my reality is gonna be a little different now. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's, you know, as far as the perception, bro, honestly, you know, in this society and that event alone, obviously, you know, that's one of those things that just obviously can't happen. But at the end of the day, as far as like the opinions, the hateful comments, you know, respectfully, you know, those comments, hateful comments, they're not hurting my pockets. They're not hurting my relationship with my son. So they're really quite irrelevant.
Look, you feel me?
And the resilience that you done had, bro, the persistence that you showed, most people, they would have, bro, like you.
Damien, I told you, there's no handbook.
High school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no handbook.
High school star.
Yeah.
Like literally high school star, college star, go to the league. This happens.
For sure.
But you still here as a man and you looking people in the face and you're not flinching or folding at that.
Okay.
And that's what
you know what's I realized one of like big revelations I realized, bro, it's like, you know, for the longest time, because my career didn't go as it like I wanted it to, because, you know, I had aspirations of being all pro every single year. I had aspiration of getting a gold jacket, but God obviously took me on a different path. But I say all that to say, bro, is for me to be able to not only withstand or whatnot, and that was just basically just how we built, you know what I'm saying? We went through adversity our whole lives. So as it relates to my situation, you know, it wasn't really no different. But what I realized is I kind of underestimated my value as far as just because as it relates to my career, I don't look at it like a spectacular career, to be honest. I only played 4 years. My successful career that I had wrote out for myself was getting 10 years in so I can get that healthy pension, get all the benefits, whatever the case may be. But obviously I didn't. So because of that, I realized it don't matter if you play 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, bro. Like,
bro.
when your name is attached to the NFL, that your name is gonna hold weight. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about when the headlines came out as it relates to the NFL, former NFL player, former. So I'm like, bro, I've been retired for like 7 years.
Former Vanderbilt Commodore.
I've been retired for like 7 years. And that's kind of been a hard thing I had to navigate, because as it ties in with the mental, as it ties in with the football, you know, it was hard for a lot of the communities that I love to kind of separate the football from my actions. You know what I'm saying? So, and I took that personally for a long time, but I had to realize, you know, it was what it was in this social climate. You know what I'm saying? So, but with that revelation itself, bro, it just came down to really just, you know, knowing that the intent was my son the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So knowing that intent was for me to be in his life, for me to, you know, be indulged in fatherhood, because, you know, we can always peel back layers, bro. You are looking at a product of somebody who did not grow up with a father figure in the household. I'm not going to necessarily go as far as say that he wasn't present. He just wasn't in the household. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So growing up in a single parent home without a father figure, we can't be naive and say it don't affect. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are Harry Potter fans. I'm sorry, I was a little bit of a nerd growing up. But
no, I am. But I just finished watching all the I watched the series,
bro. That's like the best.
Every 3 months.
That's really like watching the Harry Potter marathon. One of my safe spots, but we'll get into that another day.
Facts. That's a fact. That's a fact.
You remember Professor Snape, you know, made that unbreakable vow, meaning, you know, you break the vow, you basically die. And that was one of the vows that I made, bro, as it related to my son. It was like, no matter how bad it is, how toxic it is, I'm not gonna leave my son. I'm not gonna, you know, be in a situation where I'm not there. Because fatherhood was important for me, somewhat in an unhealthy way, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of decisions that I could have made, but at the end of the day, the decisions were pure, bro, because he was the intent the whole time.
Right. And even like just looking back, bro, like you in 2023, your ex advocated for mental health instead of punishment when it came to your behalf. So how do you feel about the support that she showed, or, you know, how do you feel about the whole situation that it was some redemption there? Did you just kind of let it all pass, or how is it today?
You know, honestly, bro, it's, you know, what's crazy is, you know, I don't mean to ask this question with a question, but I definitely want to, like, I don't want to flip the script, but like, necessarily, let's go a little reverse, like different direction here. Let's hop on another avenue. So, with everything that you guys know about my situation, with everything that, you know, as far as the details, what the case may be, what y'all may have read, what the case may be, I don't know, but how would you think the relationship would be at this point?
Well, for me answering first, I see the man that you've grown into from that space. And I mean, you know, like you said, I can only speak hypothetically of it because it's your
This is all
situation.
hypothetical, of course. Yeah.
But I kind of see you might be in the middle. Maybe, in my opinion, maybe you may have some good days about it, then some bad ones. Then it may be, I don't. So that would be my opinion, just speaking from my perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I wasn't in a situation like yours, but I was in a situation like yours, with the mother of my kids, and for how you are and what hasn't come out, I don't see that was a consistent thing in y'all space. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And just seeing everything afterwards as well, I didn't see that being a consistent thing. I seen that things was tough, things was hard. There was a big transition.
we
Everybody's
basically,
going through a
we
transition.
just about talking about moments, and that's all that situation was. A
You know
moment.
what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I feel like that would have gotten y'all either two things, right? Either stronger or y'all would have just split y'all ways and been amicable and understood, like, we just got to be here for our child.
Right. And that's, you know, I like to pick people's brain because I get asked that a lot. Like, how's the dynamic with the mother of your child? And it's like, yeah, it's what it's supposed to be. The, you know, intent is him. You know, regardless of what happened or regardless of the contextualization, as, you know, everything in between, like, me and her are parents. So we both got to be good. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't do the same thing twice. The
That's a fact.
contextualization of what led to that incident was basically putting people before myself, including my son. When, even though it's pure, that wasn't really the best decision to do. Because think about it, how am I going to show up for my son in the most healthy and effective way if I'm not in a healthy space at all? You know what I'm saying?
That's what we was always known to do,
Yeah,
bro.
for
We
sure.
was always known to give everything up out of us to everybody else besides ourselves.
Programs, almost like muscle memory. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And as it relates to the question, though, directly, you know, honestly, I can't speak for her, you know what I'm saying? Because the space that I hold her in is, you know, the space of, you know, she's the mother of my child. You know what I'm saying? So there's no animosity is basically what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Because both for our, you know, mindsets, as far as the relationship itself, it's very business-like, co-parenting. You know what I'm saying? Simple, effective co-parenting. And I think we're doing a great job with it. But I also can't speak for her as far as her advocacy for me. Because at the end of the day, you know, I don't know what been said in the media, social or national media or whatnot. I just kind of detached myself for that. So it's part of the reason why I can't speak for her. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm keeping the main thing as it relates to our son. You know what I'm saying? My goal as a father is to be the best one. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of guys. I mean, think about it, bro. We just had a guy literally pay somebody, you know, pay a female almost over $1 million just to say no. I don't want to be near the child. I don't want anything.
Oh yeah,
It's
Anthony,
my aunt,
Anthony
you know
Edwards.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's like we got guys doing
How
it.
you feel about that? I gotta ask y'all a
Go ahead.
question about that one.
Yeah.
If y'all was in that situation, well, one, how do y'all feel about Anthony Edwards? Just like, is he wrong for just completely severing ties because this woman put him in a position that she took advantage of him? You know what I mean? Or do you think that he should try to mend the situation and be there? I need to hear from both of y'all on this one.
Me personally, bro, you know, trust me, I saw the story and, you know, there was a little bit of like, I don't know. it's hard to think about because, you know, for me being as cheap as I am, I'm not trying to give up that much bread at one time. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, it's hard to answer that, bro, for real. Cause it's like, you know, we all know what the climate is as it relates to, you know, athletes, women, you know what I'm saying? We don't even know, have to go down that road per se, but I really feel like, you know, if a man is making a choice, and that is what it really comes down to, he's making a choice not to be, you know, in his child's life, but he's also legally responsible for somewhat as far as like the financial portion, because some people forget, because I had to learn this because I've been had a family law case for 4 years now. You know, just because you sign a birth certificate, that don't give you the rights to your child. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Signing the birth certificate basically means that you're financially responsible for it.
Responsible.
I had to literally go through a process of filing a motion to establish my rights as a child. Now I don't know how it is in other states.
It's just a contract.
Yeah, but Florida, I have to establish my rights. Signing the birth certificate just makes me financially responsible. So he took on that responsibility all the while making the choice, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure he's not the only male that feels that way. Everybody's gonna have their opinions or whatnot. Everybody's gonna have their judgment on it. But you know, regardless, at this particular time and space, whether that relationship with his child is, you know, rekindled or not, you know, his financial responsibilities are taken care of. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's covered that. I'm speaking from a space from somebody who been through family law as a black man in Florida. You know what I'm saying? It's not the
all right, but
process.
I need a clear answer. You just gave me a great political.
I felt it too.
Yeah,
you did. Zach, I'm gonna let you think about it. I'm gonna let you think about it.
Say the right verbiage, but
yeah.
I'm gonna let you think about it while I speak on it real quick.
If I didn't want the child, I probably would have did the same thing. That's just me. If I didn't want nothing to do with, you know what I'm saying?
Me personally, I think it's a sucker move because when God puts you in a position like that to be a blessing to not just everybody around you, but your own seed, man, I mean, I understand, but man, you got all the resources in the world to at least be some kind of at least be in that, you know, in that, bro, like that kid's gonna grow up like my daddy is Anthony Edwards and I have no access to him. What is the good in that? Like, I mean, and when people, I think we got to get back to family again, because to me, if you ask me social media wise, this was too easily forgiven. People were like, oh, he paid for the, what? Like, that's what we doing? Like, we just that cool with not having the black dad around nowadays? Like, that ain't player to me, bro. Like, if,
and
that's my opinion on it.
I think there's no right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's right or wrong.
I got to put my little 2 cents in here, but I also got to make it known though, because right when you get information or you get opinions from people, you got to understand the background. So you got somebody who's talking here who's been through traumatic experiences with his son, with the mother of his kids. Then you got somebody who don't have a child, right?
Right.
Now, my answer to this is depending on the mother's situation. So what you said about he has the resources to take care of that situation. Unfortunately, in America, don't matter how much money you got, you're a black man in the court system, you're a father, and you're an athlete, you getting taken advantage of. And that joint goes long. It don't matter, bro. And that has sent, and I'm saying this because that has sent people to kill themselves. That has sent people to the grave, specifically Pal. Right. You know what I mean?
I totally understand that, bro. But it's like,
I'm not.
It seems like he just relieved
saying,
all obligations. He
no.
don't
See,
even want to.
I don't
be
agree.
around the kid.
So I don't agree.
I mean,
I agree. What I would agree with is if the mother is blocking his every move and he has tried to do it, cool.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Do it when he gets old enough and he can make that decision. You get what I'm saying? Like, understand, like, make sure that you still doing what you have to do in the background which is the only thing, unfortunately, that we can do in those situations is either financially be there, because if you are there personally, you can get locked up. You know what I mean? You can go to jail. Like, you can lose everything trying to be there for your son, and then you definitely can't be there. And that's what people don't get about this court system. And I'm saying this because I've been in it, and that shit has happened to me. You get what I'm saying? Like, I put myself in every aspect in my son's life and still got locked up for the shit while the mother's not taking care of the child. So there is a bigger outlook on that situation if you have been in that situation. For people that haven't been in that situation, of course they're going to look at it like, you got money, all you got to do is go to court, you're going to be able to get your son back, or you're going to be able to take care of it. No, that shit don't matter. The court system don't matter. I mean, the
I
court
get
system
what you're saying, Letter. I'm just feel like whenever you do what he did up front, he just relieving all duties. Like, I don't even want to see the kid.
And
I believe,
you know, he can get out in front of it, no problem. But like, you know, at least teach him how to shoot a free throw, teach him how to dribble a basketball. That's all I'm saying. Like, you feel me? Like,
and Damien, by no means my intention weren't to say that you were wrong for feeling how you feeling, because I'm not absolving his actions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You also, and I'm glad Don brought this up, because
Right.
it really depends on the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm speaking from the situation of what he was in. Obviously, I don't know the backstory. I'm detached from social media. Of course, you see the story, but at the end of the day, it's like, if there was an intent behind it, you know what I'm saying, as far as the opposing party, then it's like a different conversation you got to have. Me personally, you know what I'm saying, as far as the decision to do that, it just depends on. That's the problem with a lot of things that we don't do, that we don't contextualize, bro.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Again, let me allude to this again. I have been a black man in Florida.
Same. Where you think mine is at?
In Florida.
Where you think mine is at?
Like family law stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a different process. You know what I'm saying? If we're trying to
let me tell you this real quick, Dane. I'm about to help him out real quick. You know my situation. He knows exactly well, he don't know exactly what I'm going through, but the details. Let me give you some details. Right, my kids show up first day, holes in their clothes, blood all over their clothes, no school supplies, wrong color clothes, holes in their sneakers. Right, I'm their father. You think I didn't give them all that before that? But guess what I had to do? I had to get called by the teachers. This is a consistent thing. So I have emails, I have all this stuff saying that my kids is not doing good in school, or they are not being taken care of in school, health wise, and I can't reach their moms. I have all of this information. This continuously, there's worse stories behind this. You don't think the judge has seen this? You don't think the judge has heard this? But guess what? They eating, they got smiles on their face, they're going to school, they're good.
That's all they care about.
The American standard. You know what I mean? So it's just like, now my son in a situation to where these kids can grow up to be failures, bro. And guess what? Who's looked at it? Especially with a man.
You.
Exactly. Who's gonna have to take on that responsibility?
Man, they daddy was a first round draft pick. They out here like that.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
So that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Really, so there's a lot. I know how they should be living.
Exact, bro. And people that, once again, us men who didn't have father figures in the house. My father's my best friend, but my father didn't live with me. So I always wanted to live with my kids. Right. So that now I'm going through that. So now I'm getting all these pressures of being a bad father. Now I'm on myself. That kills us. That right there kills us. And people think it's football. No, it's our kids. It's our kids being taken away from us. It's our kids being used as weapons. And we have, the difference is, bro, we have like you said, we have the resources to try to get what we need to get. Yeah. And we still can't get it. And we're still ostracized for it.
So you pretty much expected to keep dumping money over there towards shit that ain't even going to my kids.
And guess what? You go broke, and then you still got bills. You still got people who you were supposed to be taking care of. You still got to eat. And guess what? After that, you still got to pay child support. They still gonna make you pay child support. It don't matter what you got. So what? Damn, my bad. Yeah, so basically, bro, you wasting all your money, you paying all your money, and you still gotta take care of yourself, and you can't do that. Like that. It's not sustainable. And people think that just because we're athletes, we're gonna be able to make that sustainable. We off ourselves after that. That's the results. That's the result for anybody. You know?
The 4 principles I try to live by, bro, is, you know, I try not to take things personally, bro. I try not to make assumptions. You know, I'm impeccable with my word, and, you know, I do the best at everything I can do. And making assumptions is a big, big thing when it comes to us having this shield called the NFL on us. Bro, I was drafted in the 5th round. My whole neighborhood thought I was supposed to buy out the neighborhood or something like that. You know, there's a lot of
I was undrafted. I feel that. Like,
I
damn.
was,
Like,
you
what
know,
the-
like I had to really educate myself that, you know, I did not have a, you know, I didn't have these millions that you assume or think that I have. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big misconception that a lot of people kind of like don't do a good job of, you know, contextualizing, bro. Like, just because I play in the NFL, that doesn't mean that I have this boatloads of money. You know what I'm saying? It's
And even if I do,
yeah,
it ain't for you.
Man.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's it. It's not for you. Even if I do, it's not for
Of
you.
course.
And that's the screwed up thing about it. And you talked about this earlier when you mentioned your son that you can't
Yeah.
sit down and watch your highlight tape, right? And if there's going to be a point where your son is going to be able to watch your full story, you know what I mean? And it goes from NFL glory to your personal challenges where you are now. What would you want him to understand the most about you as a man?
Oh, that's, you know, as it relates to like the topic we was talking about, as, you know, absent fathers and stuff like that. It's like, you know, there's a conversation that most definitely is going to have to be had when he gets older as it relates to the video, bro. So, you know, again, it goes back to, there's no manual for, but the biggest thing I want my son to really understand, that it all starts with love, bro. Sounds cliche, but if you have genuine love and you operate in that cycle of love, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really is going to come down to, because, like, as far as, you know, the principles and stuff, we men, we don't have to, you know, we're going to raise our kids based off the principles that we learned from our grandmothers, how to act, stuff like that. That's just innate, you know what I'm saying?
That's a
But I
fact.
definitely want him to be able to really love himself, bro. Don't be apologetic for anybody, despite your, you know, flaws, despite your deficiencies or whatnot, you know, because that's what it really starts with, you know, what it comes down to, bro. Because a lot of the small victories that I had as it relates to my emotional wellness and journey, it all started from victories within, bro. That's the biggest battle. Like, me being on my bond release, like battling those spirals and those thoughts and suicidal stuff in my head, that was harder. I'm not gonna lie to you. No, like, just no cap or anything like that. That was one of the hardest battles. That was harder than camp, bro. That was harder than a hot NFL SEC camp, having to battle the internal demons inside, bro. So, but it really starts with the, you know, again, like I said, the foundation when it comes to giving yourself grace and making sure, first and foremost, if you're headed to that personal freedom that we all want, which is what I'm trying to head to through my navigation, through my emotional wellness and whatnot, it all starts within. It all starts with recognizing who you are, the demons, the flaws, because, you know, obviously, you know, as it relates to the video, you know, my demons ain't going nowhere. They always gonna be with me. So what I've done is befriend them. I befriend my deficiencies. I befriended my flaws, so that way I can just get to know them. My demons sit with me everywhere I go. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the management, you know what I'm saying, it starts with loving yourself, bro. And that's why I wanted to have my, you know, teach my son to be able to, you know, love himself. I want to teach them the principles that I relayed to y'all earlier, but just also, which is, you know, which is missing in this society today, and a lot has to do with, you know, the climate, the social media, what the case may be. But just be morally responsible and just be morally a good person, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
And you hit on it a little bit. One thing we like to do you have a lot going on. Well, before we even get to that, I do want to ask you, everything that you've been in, that you've gone through, everything that you're going through, are you doing anything in the community, or do you have anything going on that you want to, get out there?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing for me, bro, is as far as doing anything in the community, it's like a little bit of baby steps right now, because again, it's still a little bit of a transitional period. But right now, as it relates to me personally, bro, is I'm staying on top of my group therapy, I'm staying on top of my individual therapy. You know, as we get in the real world, it ain't gonna stop, what I'm saying, as far as these wars and these battles, what I'm saying, one therapy session ain't gonna solve anything. So really just trying to keep the application going as far as like what I learned from therapy, what I learned from, being on probation, taking battery classes and stuff like that. Cause it's really just all about accountability. So um I can kind of, I've been kind of brewing this about myself because I'm a little bit compromised, and maybe you guys can give some, some sort of encouragement because I'm in a compromising space as far as like my transition. Just because two things can be true. I cannot give a fuck about what people think about me, but they also don't get to create the narratives about my character and who I am as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Both those things can be true. So I'm I'm working on, definitely trying to do what I can to like kind of serve the education. Cause as you guys can see, you guys watch the news, particularly in sports, we got a lot of domestic violence stuff, happening, particularly with,
Every single
like with us, you know
every
what I'm
day.
saying? And I think, the education behind my situation, what I've learned, bro, I definitely want to make an impact, somehow.
This your redemption tour, bro.
Yeah.
This is your lane right
For
here.
sure.
This is your opportunity to get it out and prevent it for real.
Right.
Just be an advocate for it, bro. Cause you like we said, bro, we discussed all night. You've been through the highs and lows of everything in this.
Yes, sir.
Your perseverance and your belief and whatever you believe in is the reason why you still here.
Yes,
And
sir.
still being able to, and you just I mean, your face could be clean as you want it in your perspective, and that's what really matters.
Of course.
You can't change what people think,
Yeah,
but
no.
people also forgive you too, bro. And
For sure.
Yeah.
that's a
So
blessing.
there's always gonna be people out there to put a perception on who you are based on what they perceive, right? Yeah, and even you reading, you perceiving how you reading or how you want to look at the situation. In your situation, why we do what we do, why we are on this podcast today, is because we didn't receive something that we can give because of what we went through. That is something that, like, that's gold for people nowadays.
Of course.
That's gold for people, period, because an experience is something you can't teach.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the type of perception that you have on your situation, bro, is beautiful.
That's
Like,
amazing.
I don't think that you really understand that.
That's
I don't think that
amazing,
you
bro.
really, yeah, like
you guys are saying
like
the same thing that a lot of people have been telling me for the past 2 years, bro. You should write a book. You should do this,
yes,
bro.
yes. No, for
You
real.
hear it every day, bro. And
You need to,
Yeah.
and it's not like, it's not because you want to be this big name. Nah, bro, you went through something that, and this is why. So I'm graduating in December with my sociology
congrats on that,
degree to get my master's in family counsel to become a therapist. And I wanted to become a therapist because when I went to therapy, it was too generic. I couldn't relate, and I had to understand, how can I relate to somebody who that didn't go through what I went through. And it's like, yeah, you can still talk to them, but that's not really solving my problems because you haven't been through these
That's good
problems.
awareness,
So how can I do this? By talking to people, by telling them my story and hearing another person with similar stories that has been through it. Now I can see what the light looks like at the end of that tunnel, because this person has been through it and this person has succeeded behind it. So now you're sitting here telling me that I have, right? We all played Grand Theft Auto. What's the first thing that we did? Put our cheat codes in, right? So you telling me I have a cheat code right now? Like, your story is a cheat code for people, bro. And that's how you really got to take that and give that to people, and that's your purpose.
Not just
like you
football
said,
players, bro. Just
people.
Just speaking
This
of,
is
bro, like
humans.
So just a brief story, bro. Just when you talk about probation, brief story. One of my employees just violated probation on Friday, went to jail like pretty much on the job.
Mm-hmm.
He was only on there. He got on May 21st. It was less than a month. He didn't even survive. So for you to survive all that, bro, be thinking about suicide, bro. You selling yourself short, and you definitely leaving a lot of people hanging because they don't even know that they need you. They don't even know it yet.
For sure, bro.
Yeah, bro. And it's like you said. You remember what you said about your mom, and you was like, my mom worked 2 jobs. How am I gonna sit here and say anything? You know what I mean? That's the same now. Oh, no, Zac Stacey, he went through this and he succeeded and he had I didn't go through half of this. Now I have confidence in myself. Now I have hope. Now it's not that fear has turned into hope and reality for me. And that's what you can give people, bro. Like that's what you can really give people. And that's one thing, like everything that you are going through today, now, still, and back then, like how do you manage, like what are 2 or 3 things that you do on a daily basis to manage your mind, to help you manage your mind?
I practice a lot of gratitude, bro. I practice a lot of gratitude because that's, think of when, again, this is all about this dialogue we've all been having is all about contextualization, bro. I spent Father's Day and my son's birthday in a jail cell. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? I spent Father's Day and my son's birthday in a jail cell, bro. So when it comes to like being indulged in gratitude, that's the biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? As far as, giving myself grace, bro, because it was, of course, with the situation that I went through, boy, it's a lot of stuff that comes with it where, I'm just talking from the personal level. Obviously, there's shame, there's guilt, there's, I said this before, it's like there's the scum of the earth, and then there's like stuff underneath and that's where I was for the longest time. But I ask myself, and it's kind of just one of the things that, I do with my therapist, but, sometimes you really just got to ask your own self questions, bro. It's like the monster that people paint me out to be, the monster that everybody has painted for me. Will a judge give that monster 50-50 custody?
Be real with yourself.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not trying to sit here to toot my own horn. I'm just using that as like, that's one of the...
that's real.
Yeah, we're football players, but we're very critical of ourselves. But we don't have the skill set to give ourselves grace sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And giving yourself grace, that's a skill set, bro. It's no different than ball. All the tools that you need to have successful emotional, wellness that, in the most effective way, you have to practice that shit, bro. You have to like stay indulged with that shit. Like I played running back. Every single training session was the same thing. Basic fundamentals, cutting, you know what I'm saying, lateral movement, stuff like that. It's learning how to, create boundaries, learning acceptance, learning how to, have the right verbiage, learning how to articulate how you feeling, emotion, stuff like that. That's skill sets, bro. That it takes time to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm on. I'm trying to sharpen all the tools that I can to make sure that I'm the best father I can be, and so that obviously my situation don't happen again for anybody. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, opportunity, right? I'm having the opportunity to do this, and I appreciate y'all boys' encouragement, because trust me, I'm using this opportunity to really educate. You know what I'm saying? Really, really peel back the layers, as it relates to this. So I definitely appreciate y'all boys' encouragement, man.
Yeah, bro. It's some people that need you out there, bro.
Sure. That's definitely. There's a bunch of people who need you. That's a fact.
You guys see it.
Yeah, that's a fact. And if the people here want to come find you, where can they find you?
You guys can find me. So I have a social, just Z Stacy _ Z STACY _. So it's a little subjective because being detached from social media, I don't post as much, but they can find me there as far as
getting back out there.
Yeah, they can find me there as far as the socials and whatnot. But But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, bro, is just trying to continue to just spread this wealth, because I like how y'all phrased that, the verbiage with the cheat code, because I didn't look at it like that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I really didn't look
yeah,
at it
it
like
is.
that. So it's good to
And
kind of
and I'm
that
saying,
space.
and I say that because my brother Manny, he put this in perspective to me. It's crazy because my life has been a whirlwind. They will tell you it's always something crazy going on a year, and that's just how my life is. And I had to understand, me giving those experiences to my brother, he didn't have to go through it. He just bypassed it. And he tells me that every single time. He's like, I appreciate you because you was built for that. I wasn't.
Yeah.
And you allowed me not to go through that. And I'm
Keep
like,
walking
yeah.
right into the damn wall.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Motherfucker. You keep walking right into that.
right.
But you was dramatic. Ease was real dramatic. He changed. He was dramatic as hell,
Yeah,
bro.
I
Like,
was. But that's how I play. You
Yeah,
feel me?
that's
Everything
why I
I
was about
put,
to say.
I
You
mean,
don't think Easley talk shit after tackles for loss? I mean, he was the loudest thing.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he
All
do.
y'all boys.
Yeah.
That's why I hate playing Florida, because they know they about to whoop
Yeah.
our ass. They know they better than us. You guys don't have to
And
tell
they
us
not
that.
gonna shut
You don't
up.
have to tell us
Yeah.
that, bro. We know. We get it.
Oh man, I appreciate you for being on
Man,
Yeah,
here.
thank you, brother.
appreciate y'all, boy. This was
Yeah,
good dialogue, man. This is good space, bro. And yeah, I just, like I said, bro, I just appreciate you guys allowing me to just, keep the dialogue, and it's just simply about us.
facts.
About us, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's a fact, man. Now we're gonna check
Oh
back
yeah,
in
for
with you
sure,
in
bro. I
about
definitely appreciate
in a
it.
little bit. We're gonna see you out there. Obviously, you can always reach out to me, bro. I'm gonna be doing stuff in the community as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna be reaching out to you specifically because I'm
Yeah.
actually I'm doing some work at a restoration Atlanta, which is like homeless people,
Okay, nice. Yeah, I got Atlanta roots. I
people who's
used to
been in
live in Atlanta
domestic.
for sure.
Appreciate you for being on here, man. This is Managing Our Minds, where we create the safe space for you to be able to tell your story. Because, like we said, vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a step towards growth in every area of life. And I'm Dominique Easley.
And I'm Damien Jacobs. We signing out with our guest, Mr. Zac Stacey.
Appreciate y'all boys, man.